In 30 years as the chief manager of a prominent insurance firm, one develops a certain insight into the human condition. Life, in its most dramatic forms, often walks right through your door. My office, with its expansive glass wall, provided me a unique vantage point. I made it a habit to study the faces of new clients, forming an initial judgment before a single word was exchanged. I learned to trust that first instinct, that silent assessment of character. The story I wish to tell begins with such an instinct. It concerns a man who entered our company one afternoon. Through the glass, I observed him. He appeared to be around 40, impeccably dressed, with the polished manners of a true gentleman. He was speaking quietly with one of my clerks. Despite this flawless presentation, an immediate and profound dislike took root in me. As if sensing my gaze, the man looked up and our eyes met. He offered a polite smile through the glass, then concluded his business with the clerk and departed. A few moments later, I summoned the clerk. "Who was that man?" I asked. "That was Mr. Julian Ashford, sir," the clerk informed me. "He's a resident of the Middle Temple." "And his business?" "He requested one of our insurance forms. He mentioned a friend of yours recommended our firm, sir. He knew you by name, Mr. Davies." About 2 weeks later, I was attending a dinner party hosted by a dear friend. Among the guests, standing by the fireplace, was none other than Julian Ashford. He recognized me at once and asked our host for an introduction. "I thought you two already knew each other," our host remarked as he brought Mr. Ashford over. "No," Mr. Ashford replied smoothly. "I followed your advice and visited the insurance office, but I didn't wish to disturb Mr. Davies." "Did you come to take out an insurance policy, Mr. Ashford?" I inquired. "Life insurance, perhaps?" "Not for myself," he said. "It's for a friend. He tasked me with gathering the information. I'm not certain he will proceed. People are often fickle, don't you think, Mr. Davies?" "Indeed," I agreed. Our conversation drifted to other matters until Mr. Ashford suddenly said, "Your profession has suffered a great loss recently." I was puzzled. A loss? What kind of loss? He laughed gently. "Not a financial one, I assure you. I was referring to the brilliant Mr. Sterling." Now I understood. Ah, yes, Mr. Sterling. A truly sad affair. He was the most gifted man I've ever known in this business. But did you know him personally? "Only by his formidable reputation," Mr. Ashford said. "What a tragedy, a young man of his caliber suddenly abandoning his career to retreat from the world." The same feeling of distrust I'd felt in my office returned. I sensed a disingenuous quality in his sympathy for Mr. Sterling. I decided to probe further. "Have you heard the reason for his departure?" "I've only heard rumors," he replied. "Apparently he was unfortunate in love." "That isn't the whole truth," I corrected him. "The lady in question passed away." "She died, did she?" Mr. Ashford repeated, his face a mask of sorrow. How dreadful, poor Mr. Sterling, how utterly tragic for him. His performance was, to my eye, unconvincing. Noticing my skepticism, he added, "You seem surprised that Mr. Sterling's story affects me so deeply, Mr. Davies. You see, I too have recently suffered a terrible loss. I have 2 nieces. One of them, a lovely girl of 23, died not long ago. The other, my dear Clara, is also in poor health. The world can be a very sad place." His words painted a picture of a sensitive man, burdened by grief. I felt a pang of guilt for my harsh judgment. I observed him for the remainder of the evening. He was charming and polite, and everyone seemed to be fond of him. I concluded that my initial impression had been mistaken. Our host later confirmed that Mr. Ashford had taken his 2 nieces to Italy for their health, where one had tragically passed away. My previous distrust now felt like a deep personal failing. 2 days later, I was back in my office when I saw Mr. Ashford enter. The moment I laid eyes on him, the old feeling of aversion returned, stronger than ever. He waved cheerfully and stepped into my office. "I've returned to see what has become of my friend's insurance forms," he announced. "His family is quite worried and wants him to secure a good policy." "Perhaps I can assist," I offered. "What is your friend's name?" "Caldwell," he replied. I called for the clerk and asked him to check for a policy under that name. After a brief search, the clerk returned with a set of documents. "Yes, Mr. Davies, we've received the forms from Mr. Caldwell. He's applying for a policy of £2,000 and has named Mr. Ashford as a reference." "He has?" Mr. Ashford feigned surprise. "Well, of course, I can do that for him." He promptly sat down, wrote the reference, left the documents with me, and departed with a polite farewell. Mr. Ashford was not my only visitor that day. Earlier that morning, I had received another guest at my home, a visit of the utmost privacy, known to no one else. Mr. Caldwell's policy commenced in March. I didn't see Mr. Ashford again for nearly 7 months. Then, one September evening in Scarborough, I encountered him walking on the beach. He was with a young lady, whom he introduced as his niece, Miss Clara. She was beautiful, but I was struck by her frail appearance and pale complexion. As we walked, Mr. Ashford pointed to a set of tracks in the sand. "Ha ha, your shadow has been here again," he joked to Clara. "Shadow? What shadow?" I asked. "My uncle is teasing Mr. Davies," she explained. "There is an elderly gentleman here who travels in a hand carriage. I see him so often that my uncle has nicknamed him my shadow." As if on cue, the hand carriage appeared, carrying a fragile old man. As it passed, the man waved to me and called my name. I excused myself to speak with him, leaving Mr. Ashford for about 5 minutes. "My niece is terribly curious," Mr. Ashford said upon my return. "She wants to know the identity of her shadow." "His name is Colonel Harrison," I said, "a very wealthy man, but in very poor health. He was just telling me what pleasure it gives him to see you two together. He says your fondness for one another is plainly obvious." "It's true, we are very close," Mr. Ashford said, with grave sincerity. "We are all each other has, you know, since Eleanor died." At the mention of her sister, a wave of sadness washed over Clara's face. The memory was clearly still a source of immense pain. She sat down on a rock, looking faint. Mr. Ashford, seemingly lost in his own sorrow, walked a short distance away. Clara began to speak of her uncle, praising his kindness and worrying what would become of him when she, too, was gone, as she believed she would be soon. As she spoke, I saw the hand carriage returning. An urgent realization seized me. "Miss Clara," I interrupted, "I must tell you something of vital importance. You are in terrible danger. You must come with me and speak to that man in the carriage. Your very life depends on it." Before she could process my words or object, I guided her to the colonel. I stayed only for a moment, then watched as she walked up the beach with the gray-haired man who had a slight limp. I knew she was finally safe. I returned to the rock. Mr. Ashford came back shortly, surprised to find his niece gone. We spoke for a few minutes, during which he lamented Clara's failing health. I responded politely, my hand clutching a small weapon concealed in my pocket. "Mr. Davies," he asked suddenly, "may I inquire about that poor fellow, Sterling? Is he dead yet?" "No," I replied, "not yet, but I fear he won't live much longer." "What a sad place the world is," Mr. Ashford sighed. It was November in London before our paths crossed again. I had an appointment at the Middle Temple. At the top of a flight of stairs were 2 doors. One was marked Caldwell, the other Ashford. I entered Mr. Caldwell's room. It was filthy, littered with empty bottles. A young man, swaying unsteadily, rose to his feet. He was clearly drunk. "Ashford's not in," he slurred. "I'll get him." He stumbled into the corridor, shouting, "Hey, Julius, come have a drink." Mr. Ashford entered and was visibly shocked to see me. "Julius, this is Mr. Davies," Caldwell announced, thrusting a filthy saucepan at Ashford. "Boil the brandy, Julius, the way you always do." Mr. Ashford was mortified by my presence. "How is your niece, Mr. Ashford?" I asked quietly. "I am sorry to say she has left me," he replied, his voice strained. "She disappeared without a word." "Boil the brandy, Julius," Caldwell repeated, his voice rising. "Give me what you always give me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Boil it, I say." Mr. Ashford, cornered and embarrassed, turned to me. "You're a man of the world, Mr. Davies. I'll tell you the truth." "No, Mr. Ashford," I cut him off firmly. "You will never tell the truth. I know everything about you." "You want to save your insurance company some money," he said calmly. You'll argue that I was responsible for Caldwell's condition and his eventual death, but you can't prove it. You know you can't prove a thing." Suddenly, Caldwell hurled his glass at Ashford, cutting his forehead. As Ashford dabbed up the blood with a handkerchief, the gray-haired man with the limp entered the room. Ashford stared at him in disbelief. "Look at me carefully, Ashford," Caldwell cried out, his voice now clear and sober. "You're a scoundrel, and I've caught you. I took these rooms, I pretended to be a drunkard, all to expose you, and now it's done. You won't escape." He continued, his voice ringing with conviction. "The last time you visited Mr. Davies, I had already been to his home that very morning. We know everything. We know you planned to kill me for the $2,000 insurance policy. Kill me slowly with brandy laced with small doses of poison." Ashford was pale, speechless. "I knew what you were," Caldwell went on, "the man who already murdered one innocent girl, Eleanor, for her money, and was slowly killing another. You thought I was drinking all that brandy, but I poured most of it away. I entered your room while you slept, Ashford. I took your papers. I read your journal, the one detailing all the poisons you use. I know where it is now." "Then you're a thief," Ashford said, his voice a low hiss. "I am your niece's shadow," Caldwell declared. At this, Ashford's composure finally shattered. Fear flickered in his eyes. "I watched you constantly," Caldwell said. "I knew you were poisoning Clara. I went to Mr. Davies and told him everything. That man by the door is his associate. The three of us saved her life." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You don't even know my real name. You kept asking Mr. Davies for news of Sterling. Well, I can give you that news." He stood tall, his voice triumphant. "I am Sterling." "I loved your niece Eleanor," he cried. "I couldn't save her, but I swore I would pursue you to the ends of the earth, and I have. I've hunted you down, Ashford." Horror contorted Ashford's face. He was trapped, unable to speak. "You see me now for the first time under my real name," Sterling told him. "You will see me again when you answer for the charge of murder. And I hope you see me in your mind's eye when they place the rope around your neck." In a flash, Ashford turned away, bringing his hand to his mouth. A sharp chemical odor filled the room. He gasped, staggered a few steps, and collapsed. He was dead. Sterling and I confirmed it before leaving the room together. "I have done what I promised," Sterling said. "My life is now over. I did everything I could for him, but the weight of his ordeal was too great. The poor man passed away just a few months later."